This is Gemara Nazir Daf Lamid Aleph Baruch Hashem. We begin a new parak today, the fifth parak of Nazir, parak of Beis Shammai. So we begin the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. Beis Shammai Oimrim teaches Beis Shammai hektish ta'is hektish. If someone consecrates an item by mistake, b'ta'is, what is the halacha? It has the status of hektish. It is the status of hektish, and today's daf is really going to focus on this opinion of Beis Shammai and figuring out what exactly that means. We turn over to Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph, and continues the Mishnah. Ubeis Hillel Aimrim says Beis Hillel, Ein hektish. Beis Hillel argues. Classical sense. Beis Hillel says no. Hektish that is done b'tayis. If someone does hektish, will literally just translate it by mistake. Now, whether that is a good translation or not, today's daf will come along to explain. But says the Gemara, Beis Hillel says, Ein hektish, it does not have the status of hektish. Continues the Mishnah, Ketzat, what is the case? What is the case of this hektish b'tayis that we're talking about? And the Mishnah is going to discuss three examples. Case number one, and if someone says this black ox, this dark ox, which comes out of my house first, and every word here is so precise, a shar shachar, sheyatza mi beisi rishain first, harei hu hektish, has the status of hektish. And what happens? A black one doesn't come out first. V'yatza lavan, a white one comes out first. Beis Shammai oimrim hektish. Says Beis Shammai it's hektish. Now what is hektish? The simple thought that we're all thinking right now is the white one that came out is hektish. But let's wait for the Gemara to see if that's going to be a conclusive point. Beis Hillel oimrim einay hektish. Case number one. Case number two, dinar zav sheya'alebi adi risha, in this golden coin that comes in my hand first, areu hektish should be consecrated to the Beis HaMikdash. Ve'ala shel kesef, and a silver one comes up, Beis Shammai oimrim hektish, it's hektish. Beis Hillel oimrim einay hektish. Case number three, chavish shel yayin, this barrel of wine shetalabi adi risha that comes to the man first, areu hektish should be hektish. V'alsa shel shemin, and he picks up a barrel of oil. Beis Shammai oimrim hektish, Beis Hillel oimrim einay hektish. There's three scenarios in which Beis Shammai says, even though it was a tayis, it was a mistake. What exactly the mistake was, we're going to discuss. Says Beis Shammai, it's hektish. Says Beis Hillel, it is not. So begins the Gemara, Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph, Beis Shammai oimrim hektish v'chulu. My time, mayu de Beis Shammai. Where does Beis Shammai get this din from? Explains the Gemara. The Alfina Tchilas hektish misoif hektish. He learns out the beginning of hektish, which is a case of temura, as we'll see in a moment, to the end of hektish. Ma temura. Just like temura, what is temura? Temura is when you exchange the kedusha, the sanctity, from one animal to a next. So just like, and not ironic, but the interesting thing of Temura is that they both maintain the Kedusha. So if I have a animal sitting over here and I want to put the Kedusha onto this animal, the halacha is that the Kedusha transfers, but this animal also has the Kedusha. But it's the transfer that we're referring to. So just like when it's to Temura, a few bitayus, even if someone makes a mistake, the halacha is, it is Temura, the Kedusha transfers. Now what would the case be? The case be that he wants to transfer this kedusha onto a black animal, and he says a white animal. What is the halacha going to be? That the white animal in front of us will receive the kedusha. It was a tayis. He didn't mean to say the white animal. Hektish temura b'tayis is a temura. Says the Gemara. Beis Shammai learns hektish is the same. Ubeis Hillel oimrim. Now why does Beis Hillel argue? Says Beis Hillel hani mili temura. That's only a din of temura. Avlachayisi hektish b'tayis loy machtinan. Says Beis Hillel, Temura, there was Kedusha here. So if there was Kedusha, but it doesn't go transfer, it could transfer. But a hektish is a chuti hektish, to create. Hektish, says Beis Hillel, we cannot create a hektish by mistake. What do you mean create a hektish? Because we're saying right now, the animal that comes out first is going to be hektish. So it's imparting and investing hektish onto that animal. To create a hektish, to say that this animal is going to the Beis HaMikdash, if it was one big mistake, that you cannot do. Ask the Gemara Beis Shammai. How does Beis Shammai answer up to that which Beis Hillel just said? Ma ilu amari zetachazel chatziyoyim. Says the Gemara. Excuse me. The Gemara asks on Beis Shammai, Ula Beis Shammai, Ma ilu amar. If someone says that this animal should be for this animal, meaning he's making a tumura, he's transferring the kedusha. At what point, halfway into the day, does the tumura work at that moment? No. When does the tumura work? When does the other animal get the kedusha? Ella, when does it apply? Ella adamati chatziyayim hu dahavia tumura. It's at half a day when the transfer applies. So says the Gemara. So what do we think right now? I say the black animal that comes out first should be hektish. And the white animal comes out first. So we thought the white animal gets a din of hektish. Says Gemara, 1 second. By Tamura, if I said that it happens at half the day, so it starts at half the day. So says the Gemara in our Mishnah also, milsa, when it happens, it should happen. Meaning, when the black animal walks out of the house, it should be hektish. Why are we suggesting that according to Bishamay, Aktish B'tayis is Aktish? Which we think means right now that when the white animal comes out first, it's going to have a din of Aktish. I don't understand. When it came to Tamura, what was the halacha? It kicked in when he said. So over here, it should kick in when he said. What is it when he said? When the black animal eventually walks out. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Papa, a new way of learning Beis Shammai. So again, Mahalich number 1. Direction number 1 in Beis Shammai, we say it has to do with Tamura. Comes along Rav Papa with a new mahalach. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, Lekach nemar rishon. As we pointed out when we read the Mishnah, the wording is very precise. He says the black shor, the black ox that comes out first from my house. Says Rav Papa, why did he say first? L'chshayatza rishon. What he means to say is that the first one that comes out. What does that mean? What that means is, says Rav Papa, doesn't mean the white one. The black one that comes out. What was the question the Gemara just asked? The question was that in the case of Tamura, it only happens when he says it. Answers Rav Papa, I agree. Even in our Mishnah, it only happened when he says it. We said that Hektish B'tayis is Hektish. Yes, it is Hektish. But what is Hektish? Says Rav Papa, not the white one, but rather the black one that comes out first of all the black ones. Asks the Gemara, 1 second. Varshar Shachar Ka'amr. He says the black ox. Mila Yaskin and Delesle Elahai. Sounds like he only has one black ox. So are you telling me he has multiples and the first black ox, even if it came after a white one, is going to be Aktish? Answers the Gemara, Loisricha Dislay Tartan Utlas is 2 or 3 black oxen. Beisil responds, Imkain Sheyatza Berisha Mi Baile. Says Beisil, if that is true, he should have said which comes out first. Why did he add in the words, may Beisi from my house? And therefore Beis Hillel argues and says Hektish B'tayis is not going to be a din of Hektish. So Rav Papa is explaining, not like we thought initially that it's the white ox that actually comes out first, but rather the first of the black oxen is going to be that which will be Hektish. Continues the Gemara. So this was the explanation of Rav Papa. Omar lei Rava mi barnish le Rav Ashi, asking on Rav Papa, Hi Hektish b'tayisu. Hektish b'kavanu. What's the tayis? If he said the first of the black oxen that comes out, and then the first of the black oxen that came out is Aktish, it's not a Tayis anymore. What exactly is the mistake that we're saying in the Mishnah? It's a mistake in Aktish, not a mistake. It's exactly what he said. Says the Gemara, you know what the mistake is? Misham da'ate l'dibure kama. An interesting mistake. It's called a mistake because we're not sure what he meant. We thought it would have meant something else, and that's exactly what we're coming to explain, not that way. So it's not a mistake in his words. It means it's a mistake in the way we would have thought to explain the Mishnah. Asks the Gemara about 13 lines from the bottom. The first word in line is Kama. So fine. We have an explanation of Beis Shammai according to Rav Papa. We tried to say it has to do with Tamura. The Gemara rejected that the white one is not Hektish. Rather, we're going with Rav Papa, that it's the black one, the first of the black ones. So now the Gemara asks fundamentally, what's the machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel? Beis Shammai says, Hektish b'tayis is Hektish. Beis Hillel says no. Asks the Gemara, is it true that Beis Shammai holds Hektish b'tayis is not Hektish? Excuse me, I said it backwards. V'savri Beis Shammai, Hektish b'tayis. Right. Let's explain what's going on over here. because it really, Beis Shammai in the Mishnah said hektish b'tayis is hektish. But we're now explaining that what was the tayis? It was a tayis just in what we thought. So the Gemara is suggesting now that according to Rav Papa, what about a real tayis? What if there was a real mistake? It would sound like, according to Rav Papa, Beis Shammai would concur with Beis Hillel that hektish b'tayis is not hektish, and that's why Rav Papa is jumping through hoops to explain that the case of the Mishnah is not a real tayis. It's a quasi mistake. It's a mistake that we would have thought, but it's not an actual mistake in hektish. Says the Gemara, is that true? V'savi Beis Shammai hektish b'tayis is not hektish. V'atanan mishenadir b'nazir v'nishal chacham. So it makes a nadir nazir, and he has a chacham the itira that gets rid of his naziros v'yislabeim mefresh. And he already separated an animal for his naziros. What's the halacha? Teitzei v'tira be'eder. The halacha is that animal goes and it grazes with the flock. So what do we see? Amru Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. Say Beis Hillel to Beis Shammai. Do not agree. This is a case of a mistake. Why is it a mistake? Because he separated the animal for the Nazirus. And then what happened? The Chachamim, the Talmud Chacham uprooted Nazirus. So he never was a Nazir. So at the moment he separated his animal, it was one big mistake because he never was a Nazir. So do you not agree? As we said to Beis Shammai, this case of hektish b'tayis. And yet, what is the halacha of a teitzi v'tira be'eder? Mechal d'savi Beis Shammai hektish b'tayis have hektish. From the question in the Brisa of Beis Hillel to Beis Shammai is clear that Beis Shammai holds hektish b'tayis is hektish. So why are you, Rav Papa, jumping through hoops to explain to Beis Shammai that it's not really hektish? We see Beis Shammai holds it is hektish. Answers the Gemara, no. Ela Beis Hillel udekata'u. In this brisa, the conversation is Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. So Beis Hillel misunderstood what Beis Shammai held. He made a mistake. Savri tamar de Beis Shammai sham de hektish b'tayis have a hektish. Beis Hillel thought Beis Shammai held it's a hektish. V'amiloin Beis Shammai lam misham hektish b'tayisu al misham da'atil dibur. And Beis Shammai answers, no, I don't know the hektish b'tayis is a hektish. The only reason it works is because the atil b'dibur ayu. It's because we're explaining his words a different way than we originally would have thought, like we explained. For the dibure kama. Continues the Gemara, another kasha. V'savri Beis Shammai hektish b'tayis lo yahave hektish. Ask the Gemara, really does Beis Shammai hold that it's not a hektish like the Gemara just answered, like Rav Papa just explained? Tashaman, the last line. If someone is walking on the road and we turn over to Lamed Aleph Amid Bei, someone is walking on the road, and someone is coming towards him, but he can't tell exactly who this person is. So again, Reuven's walking, and he sees a figure walking towards him, and he can't really make out who this figure walking towards him is. Now the case, let's just preface, is going to seem a little bit confusing, but as we'll see in a moment, the takeaway from the case is fairly simple. So v'echad b'kenegdam, v'amar echad. So now the case is, as we're going to see in a moment, that there are 6 people. That is the story over here. There are 6 people walking on a road, and in the distance they see someone. Again, so we have 6 people. Let's call them A, B. Let's call them person 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they see someone in the distance. V'amar echad, the first guy says, number 1, Harini Nazir, I'm going to be a Nazir shezeh Pliny. That guy walking, that's Pliny. V'echad, and the second guy says, Harini Nazir shein zeh Pliny. I'm a Nazir, that guy's not Pliny. The third guy says, Harini Nazir she'echad mikem Nazir. I'm a Nazir if one of you is a Nazir. And the fourth guy says, I'm a Nazir, she'ein echad mikem Nazir, if neither of you are Nazir. And the fifth one says, she'shneichad Nazirim, that you're both Nazirim. And the sixth one says, she'kolchem Nazirim, I'll be a Nazir if you're all Nazirim. So we have each person pinning his Naziris on something else. Says the Brisa Beis Shammai Oimrim Kulam Nazirimu. They are all Nazirim. Kulam Nazirim, excuse me. They all have the status of Nazirim. As Beis Shammai explains, that really, if you look at the side of the Rivan, the Mefarish, he says, Hayil ve'ein lecha echan me'am shamer harini Nazir. V'av b'shei kulan tayin, they all make a mistake, she'yisuvim she'ein kamosh. She'ein Oimrim, none of them are really saying the truth. The Kami Beis Shammai, they kulam Nazirim. So even though they're all somewhat mistaken, because they can't all be telling the truth, but they all mean to pin their Naziris on the previous guy. They all mean to become a Nazir. So what does Beis Shammai say? But over here, it's hektish b'tayisu. Even though it's a mistake, v'katani kulam Nazirim, Beis Shammai holds are all Nazirim. So clearly Beis Shammai holds hektish b'tayis is hektish. Answers the Gemara, Amri Savri Beishamai Hektish B'tayis Have Hektish. So therefore, what's going on in our Mishnah? Our Mishnah is the anomaly. Our Mishnah, Rav Papa holds, is going to be different. And only in our Mishnah is Beishamai going to hold it's not a good Hektish. Says the Gemara, that's part A of today's shir. So part A of today's shir is Shitas Beishamai, according to Rav Papa. The Rav Papa holds Hektish B'tayis is Lo Yav Hektish in our Mishnah. So what's going on in our Mishnah? Our Mishnah is that he says the first of the black ones that come out. We have a different Mishnah. Beishamai says Hektish B'tayis have Hektish. Our Mishnah disagrees. Abaye Amar, says Abaye, a second Pshat of Beishamai, or really a third Pshat if you're keeping up math about the case of Temura. Abaye Amar, Loika Salika Dai Tochte Koyim B'Seifra. Says Beishamai, don't think that the case is that we're standing in the morning before the animals came out of the house. Elahacha B'May Askinan, says Beishamai, you know what the case is? The Koyim B'Tiara, that we're standing in the afternoon. Va'amar Shar Shachar Sheyatsa Mi Beisi, the black ox that already came out of my house, Rishon first Lavi Hektish should be Hektish. V'amri lei, and they tell him, buddy, it wasn't a black one, lava nafak, it was a white one. V'amar lohain, and he responds, if I would have known the lava nafak that it was the white one that came out first, lo yamri shachar, I would not have said black. And that's the case that Beishamai says, it's Hektish B'tayis, but yet it's still going to be a good Hektish. Ask the Gemara some word issues. Can you actually explain the Mishnah in the afternoon? The Mishnah says that Dinah Shalav that comes up, clearly referring to in the future. Tani Sha'Allah, that came up. It says Chavish Shal Yayin Shetala, that will come up. Tani Sha'Alsa. So this is how a second way, the way of Abaye explaining the Shita of Beishamai in our Mishnah. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Chista, a statement which is going to come back around to our Mishnah in a moment. Ochma bechiara lakya, says Rav Chista, a black ox in white oxen makes all the oxen lower in value because the black one is less valuable than the white one. Chiyura be'ochma, but a white spot on a black ox, lakya, shows that the black ox has a skin disease. So ask the Gemara, based on the idea that Rav Chista seemingly is teaching us that a black ox is less valuable than a white ox. To now we learned in our Mishnah, the black one that comes out of males first is going to be Hektish. So what do we think right now? Ki makdish, that when someone makes something Hektish, ba'ayin ra makdish, but someone doesn't want to give away the best stuff that they have to the Beis HaMikdash, they give away their inferior stuff to the Beis HaMikdash. And yet Beishamai says, V'ami Beishamai, have Hektish. So clearly the black ox is better than the white ox. According to Rav Chista, that the white ox is better, so why would you want to give the white ox to the Beis HaMikdash? People give to the Beis HaMikdash ba'ayin ra, with a stingy eye. Ve'elamai, so says the Gemara, no, it's not a kash on Rav Chista. Ba'ayin yafa makdish. You know what I'll tell you? I'll tell you really, people give to the Beis HaMikdash with a generous eye. But now the problem is the next case in the Mishnah. Dinar shel zav, shi'ala biyadi risha, if someone says the golden coin that comes into man first, va'ala kesef, and the silver one comes in, Beishami Oimrim Hektish. Ve'elamai ba'ayin ra makdish. So what do we see? We see that he intends to give with a stingy eye, and that's the reason why the silver one is going to be Hektish. But now the problem is, incorrect. 1 second. So the case is, he says the golden dinar, and what happens? V'alabiyadei kesef. Beishami Oimrim Hektish. Says Beishamai it's Hektish. So Ve'elamai, what are you going to say? You're going to say Ba'ayin Ra Makdish, and that's the reason why the silver one is Hektish. But they go to the next case. Chavish Shal Yayin Shetal B'Yadei Rishon V'Allah Shal Shemen, and oil comes in B'Yam Beisham Yom Hektish. V'Shemen Adav Mi'ayin. But wine is more valuable. But oil is more valuable than wine. So what is going on over here? Does person give Ba'ayin Ra, Ba'ayin Yafeh? And the overarching question is, what is going on with the Shita of Rav Chista that says that a black ox is worth less than a white ox? Answers the Gemara, Imi Shamha Loi Kasha. What you just asked is not a question. Why? Begalilu Shanu, we're talking about in Galil, Techamra Adiv Mi Mishcha. That wine is more valuable than oil. Says the Gemara, okay, fine, but Reisha Kasha Rav Chisda. The first case of the oxen is a question of Rav Chisda because it seemingly indicates that the black is better than the white. Not like Rav Chisda said, Rav Chisda Ki Amri, Petua de Karmarnyai. We're talking about Carmanian oxen. That's when Rav Chisda, said the black ones are better. But the Mishnah is talking about a regular ox. Rav Chisda, Ochma, Lemishcha, continues and concludes Rav Chisda, black ox for his skin, Sumka, Lebasara, a red ox is good for its meat, Chiyura, Leradia, the white ox is good for plowing. Says the Gemara, Rav Chisda, Ochma, Bechiara, Lakya, a black ox makes the herd be worth less. So, but here we seemingly show that a black ox does have something good about it, the hide of the black ox. Ki Amri, Betura de Karamanya, again, Rav Chisda is talking about the Carmanian oxen, and that's when he holds the black ox is worth less than the white ox. And if you see out to the Shemai, I'll pick it up for the next Mishnah, on the next year, in Mirta Hashem.